types of sports with shoot and tour, football discussion on the internet.
Ooh. Am I crazy, Tor? I'm trying to find it now. Did I read that Aiden Hutchinson, I know that he had the surgery already, and that he's already in recovery, but did I read that he could potentially return this year, or is that something I'm just manifesting, fantasy booking?
I just saw Schefter tweet more about Lions DE Aiden Hutchinson suffering a season-ending fractured tibia and fibula. Let me see if there's more information in the article.
Trying to remember where I saw that. where they said he could potentially return this year.
I don't see it being plausible after seeing that play.
It was gross. It was Alex Smith level.
Yeah, he's expected to make a full recovery. There is no timetable for his return to play, the team said. That is the latest.
Okay. So, but has the team said he's out for the season? Because that's the part I don't think that was confirmed.
No, I don't think it's been explicitly said he's out for the year.
Or implicitly said. Either at this point.
Yes, either. God.
Or both. Just give me a clear answer. Certainly. What was the question?
He only needed to play one quarter of that game. I might actually just given him a couple series.
Look, I heard Dan Orlovsky fucking thumping his chest real hard that everybody knew that the Cowboys were going to get eviscerated by the Lions, and I know they played badly at home. I don't think anyone could have predicted that they're going to be running gadget plays to their offensive linemen in the red zone. I don't think anyone could have predicted we're going to hand the Cowboys the worst loss Jerry Jones has ever had since he's an owner. It's easy to say that, but I knew they were dysfunctional, Tor, and they were 0-3 at home. They were 8-0 last year. That was one of their strengths, but I didn't know they were embarrassingly bad, and the Dallas Cowboys are embarrassingly bad.
I think Orlovsky is a bit full of it because a lot of the pregame stuff about this game was that Dak has been in his career 5-0 against the Detroit Lions, and he's been like the one guy that has been impervious to the new age Detroit Lions style of game. So it wasn't being billed as, the Cowboys are frauds and the Lions are world beaters at all. It was simply, let's see how this game goes. Dak has a good record against them. And it turned into what I have so far through 6 weeks, the most embarrassing loss of the season. That, without a doubt, the most embarrassing.
38-point loss at home, tied for the 4th worst loss in franchise history. They're now 0-3 this season. Detroit never punted in the game. 47 points on Sunday afternoon. That is the most the Cowboys have given up since 2020, or I guess they gave up 49 to Cleveland. You had to bench. Let me get this straight. Dak Prescott is the highest paid player in the league, and you've got to sit his ass down after 4 sacks, 2 picks, and he threw less than 180 yards on the owner's birthday. And it's the fact that it's the Cowboys. I mean, look, you know this, Tor. There's a lot of envy that goes along with people's hate of the Cowboys because they're the biggest story. They're the biggest draw. It's what everybody always talks about, whether you agree with it or not. It is what it is. But when you have something like this happens, this is much worse than I would have said maybe Jacksonville losing in London when the owner owned, all those connections over there and the coaches have gotten fired already this season. But you're right. With all of that scrutiny and the benefits and the jersey sales and the television contracts and all that shit that goes along with having that star on the side of your head, this is the polar opposite of that. And this is worse for this team than it would be for another team.
And I see what Detroit did even this week. They they extended David Montgomery another 2 years for good reason.
Responsible.
And that is a good decision. It's a team that is no longer doing stupid management, bad team decisions. They're locking up their good guys. They're not asking Jared Goff to do too much. They have 2 really good running backs, and they drafted a wide receiver last year who was out because of some gambling nonsense, and now he's having a breakout year in Jamison Williams. They bring in Tim Patrick, who, embarrassing. Do you think the Denver Broncos could use that guy who's a really good 3rd option, 4th option on the Lions, converting huge first downs, and they're just begging Cortland Sutton to make an incredible catch every game? Denver in that same group category. Bad talent assessment, bad player retention, don't know what you have. Detroit knows who they have, knows who they want to work for their team and to have fit in that offense and defense. Dallas is not that. Dallas is, we're going to draft individuals that maybe we can piece them together.
The coverage of this game, and thank you for joining both types of sports. If you're watching live on YouTube, please hit the like button. We do accept super chats. Thank you for being here. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, consider watching us live as we record on Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays. It is at Chad Duke Show on YouTube. I'll tell you one of the things that I've heard a lot of ex-players say today, Tor, as I've been consuming the coverage of this, because I thought you and I was looking forward to talking about the Eagles coach and his buffoonery, and I'm sure we'll get there. But a lot of players saying things like, and couching their statements, this team is soft. Like, this team doesn't play hard. This team is, it's not just the coaches or bad scheme. It's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. Like, you don't have enough players, and the ones that are out there don't care enough. Like, I'm hearing a lot of that. And this offseason, Dallas made a commitment to not really doing much except paying two guys, right? And they've gotten demonstratively worse because of it. And I understand Lawrence is out. I understand Parsons is out. Like, they've got injuries along the defensive side of the football. But that jet sweep that was turned into a reverse, that turned into a flea flicker where Laporta's running down that nobody can catch him, like, that fucking play took 7 seconds to develop. You should be able to just pick up former UFL players and get a better pass rush than what Dallas was getting last night. I don't think you can excuse anything about the personnel side of the ball simply based on injuries.
2 years ago, we were looking at this Dallas defense and saying, wow, they're pretty good. This team, Micah Parsons, rookie, this team has really, really potential to challenge anybody in the NFC. Last year, we're looking at this defense. At times, they had like a 10-game stretch. This defense is legit. Nobody can score on them. They're getting 10 sacks a game, whatever it is. World beater type defense. A year later, and we're looking at 47 bomb from Detroit. We're looking at that awful, hideous loss versus the Saints, a 44 given up there. They gave up, they squeaked by the New York Giants. It's an embarrassing team. This team is not serious. This team is just awful on defense. How can it be that? Can it just simply be Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence?
No.
It can't be. No, it's a culture thing on defense. And they lost Dan Quinn. I think maybe he was way too valuable for that defense, and not only their scheme, but their mentality.
492 yards the Lions racked up on offense. I don't know how anyone could have predicted that in 47 points. I mean, there's so many comical statistics about that game that it's difficult to kind of sift through them all, because it's one of those performances. I talked to you about this when I was, all those years rooting for the Redskins, where teams would come to town and they would just break records on the backs of Washington. There's so much of that shit coming out about this game. I grabbed this one just because it was so stark. The Cowboys' last 4 home games, this is including the playoffs. This is from that awful Get Up show. They've scored 85 points, and they've allowed 167 points. The opponents are averaging 449 yards per game, and they have trailed by 20 points in each game. I think they've led for like 130 seconds in all these games. The part about this is so stark is the shift from being able to win at home. I think that moment where Green Bay comes in and they don't just win, they decimate you with a quarterback in his first year. And then immediately you're like, we're running it back. The balls and the gall and the inability to humble yourself and the inability to reassess. I understand one game we move on, there's outliers. This was not an outlier. And if you have smart football people, the writing was on the wall. It is wild to see the paradigm shift when it's still CeeDee Lamb, it's still Dak Prescott, it's still Mike McCarthy, and they have an inability to perform at home in anything that even approaches respectable at this point.
Haven't seen the podcast clips yet for the breakdown. I wonder if Micah is going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown on and they do a dual podcast situation, home and home, as it were, to break this one down. That maybe we're actually stepping in and not doing one this week after this performance. I'm stealing this from Kyle Brandt, who said it this morning. The last 4 home games for Dallas, at half, they've been down by 15 points. The longest streak in the history of the NFL of being down by at least 15 points at home at half. How is that possible? You can't get up at home. You can't keep it close at home. You can't keep it 1 score at half at home. That is an awful issue. I don't know what you address it in the NFL. It's not just yelling at the college kids saying, "Hey, we need you guys to be drunk and loud at kickoff." These are grown ass adults that come to these football games. They're expecting a product that can live up to somewhat of the expectation. They're not giving it.
Tor, what's the offense? They can't run the football at all, right? So throw that out. There's no way you can go out there and dictate the pace and be physical and do all these things we hear that the Cowboys want to do, right? Like, we're going to be physical, we're going to be the bullies. Oh, no, you're not. It's CeeDee Lamb had 14 targets in that game. And then what? What are we supposed to fear? What are you supposed to when you describe what the Los Angeles Chargers do, or you describe, pick any team right now that's having success, you kind of know what they're all about. What is desperation passes to CD and a kicker that can hit you 70-yarder and a tight one? Like, okay, that's your entire team identity. When you pay, Dak Prescott is making more money than anyone else in this league. It's not necessarily his fault. But if you're the Cowboys, you must believe that he is a guy that elevates everyone around him. And we kind of know now that he doesn't, right? Like, even if you think he's a good quarterback, he don't do that. So
he throws red zone interceptions. That's what Dak Prescott does. He throws back-breaking, drive-ending interceptions right on the precipice of getting momentum and getting a score. And if he's playing a walkover team, he could throw for 400 yards, and CeeDee Lamb could have 180 and 2 touchdowns. But not this year. Who's the second option? They don't have one. It's really CeeDee Lamb and throwing it down to Rico Dowdle. And I saw in the first quarter, and it made me want to rip all my hair out. CeeDee Lamb taking another handoff in the backfield. He only had one this game, but that should never, ever, ever happen. I would have walked to the Georgia Dome if I saw Julio Jones lining up in the eye. I would have walked there with a torch and demanded repercussions for you doing that with a number one wide receiver that you just paid. You're putting him in the backfield. That lets me know you got nothing. You have absolutely nothing on offense if you're going to gimmicky shit in quarter one.
Chris Mays in the chat said the writing was on the wall with bringing back a washed up Zeke. I do feel like the Zeke Elliott signing was almost like the hood ornament of this automobile. You see a fucking Rolls Royce hood ornament or Jaguar, and you're like, okay, there's something under that hood that's worthy of that. You bringing back Zeke, like, we're all dumb enough to not know that he's washed. That we're too stupid and oblivious to see all the other running backs that were being traded around like fucking Pokemon cards at the fucking entire offseason, and guys going for reasonable amounts of money. How many times have we brought up Austin Eckler? Like, how much better is Austin Eckler an option?
We bring him up once a week.
Joe Mixon's still a bell cow. I'm talking about just a guy that you could bring in to be a piece on your offense. I mean, Aaron Jones, the Vikings look like they're fucking geniuses because he's still one of the best backs in the league. But there was other options out there where they could have added a piece or two. Like, why do the 49ers always have another running back? Like, why do the Cincinnati Bengals always have another running back? And the cupboard's bare for Dallas, who has more resources and recruiting power than anyone else.
It's so embarrassing that the Dallas fans have already started mocking the number one running back in college football to go to them this offseason. Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. They're already starting to say, bring him in. We're ready for Jeanty. It's week 6. This was week 6, and you're already talking about the draft that takes place in May. This is a fan base that has given up. They're punching out. And this is just a resounding statement. Seeing this reaction is a resounding statement that it's Washington's division to lose, which is crazy to say at this point.
It's very clear. Could you had a more start? I said this earlier toward I was taping the Chad Duke show. I said the Commanders' loss to the Ravens was more impressive than the Eagles' win coming off of a bye, getting all their players back over the Cleveland Browns. I don't think that's arguable, right? And think about, what if that Ravens team that Washington played on Sunday traveled to AT&T and played that Cowboys team? They're not scoring 50. They're not waltzing up and down the field with that defense unable to stop Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson and Zay. That's not going to, of course it's going to fucking happen. Think about how much more competitive Washington was on the road against the Ravens than Dallas would have been at home against the Ravens.
No kidding. And I know that they played in week 3. This is 3 weeks later. It's an impossibly different team. The 28-25 loss doesn't happen this week. No. It would be 50-3 with how the Ravens have improved incrementally week after week. Dallas has just started. They're spiraling. They're in a true spiral, and they can't get out of it. I don't see how they do. They might be right now a bottom 10 team in the league.
I don't know how you could say that they're not the worst team in the league. After every other team in the league was more competitive this week than the Dallas Cowboys. That is an unarguable point. Look at this, a monster one right off the jump. $50 super chat. Nathan Farley, thank you so much for the generosity. Football discussion on the internet. That is what we aim to provide. We don't succeed each and every time, but we will try to get that going for you today. I pulled this little clip. First of all, before we get to the clip, I saved this picture, Tor, right after the game because I said, I don't know that I've ever seen, if this man isn't crying, this is as close to a man crying as I've ever seen. I mean, you could just see the tears pooling on the. He's going through it. Jared's going through it here, but then I thought I was going to feel bad for him. It's his birthday. He's embarrassed on national television. He was a cock during this interview. He's a dick. Where he's screaming about how he's never going to fire the coach and he's the owner and he still has ownership. You don't need to worry about that. Never change. I saved that photo, but this is them discussing it with the owner /
points. That's the worst home loss in your 35 years as owner. What is the feeling of embarrassment towards your fans?
Well, I regret that for our fans, regret it for everybody that is a part of the Dallas Cowboys or have been a part of the Cowboys. And it puts a lot of resolve. But the key thing to think about right here is we're 6 games into this thing. We're 3-3. We've had times when we haven't liked where we were when we were in the early part of the season. We don't like where we are right now.
I mean, none of those times have anything to do with what you're going through right now at home. Like,
Not even close.
No, there's no comparison. Eric said Cowboys are more competitive than the Jaguars. Yeah, yesterday. Yeah, absolutely. Jaguars weren't playing in their stadium. Jaguars weren't playing. I guess they were playing on national TV technically, but half the people are watching it, half the expectation. Jaguars don't carry themselves like the Dallas. I mean, there's a million reasons why I could say the Dallas Cowboys loss was way more embarrassing.
Never seen Shad Khan in a helicopter dropping down on the practice field ever.
It's a great point. And I thought that was a hilarious move. I wasn't as upset about it as everybody else, but if you're going to fucking act that way and then your team goes out, and by the way, you're the general manager, you're not just the guy stroking the checks like the rest of these clowns.
There's a lot of work to do, got a lot of improvement before we'll sit here with any smiles on our face.
How do you and how will you take ownership?
Well, let me say this. I have ownership, so there's no taking it. I got it.
God bless Jerry. Never change. Here's where I always give him respect, Tor, is I think a lot of these owners are wearing some sort of general manager, operations manager cap, and they just don't have the sack to actually put it on and say, yeah, that's my title. It's sitting on my desk. And that crazy old coot does. So like, that's the part of it where I'll always respect him no matter how bad it gets.
He's a 101, and I will genuinely be bummed out when he decides to hang it up or he croaks in his office, which I think is the likely what'll happen.
Jesus Christ.
He loves the game and he loves the Cowboys, and I think that's how it happens. I don't see him going down to Florida and riding it out on a boat under a palapa. I think that it's going to be a situation where he wants to truly be with the Cowboys as long as physically possible. I love that Jerry gives us new stuff not even every year, every month. He gives us a new tidbit. He gives us a new crazy story. He gives sound bites that nobody else can ever replicate. But boy, the team construction, it has to go under a microscope. And the problem is he's holding the microscope.
Do you have any palapa, by the way? I'm starving. You got anything back there? My fucking stomach's sucking up against my spine right now. You got anything, Tor? Jesus Christ.
Fresh out.
This is the worst fucking kitchen in radio, I'll tell you that much. Thank you, Nathan Farley, again. $50 super chat. Unbelievable. You the man. How can we be the man when you're the man? Jake, get it up. David Flaccoberry, big winner for his squad yesterday. $5 super chat. Late to the show tax. Happy BTOS Monday, friendos. Happy BTOS Monday to you, David. And thank you for always being in here and supporting the show. Fat tax 243 this morning. We don't charge a fat tax on this show, Patrick, but it's nice to know you have a guilty conscience and you're weighing in and you know you're still above 240 pounds and that you do owe a fat tax at some point. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, my friends. I'm not going to wish fucking, I hate it when sports fans start wishing death on people. I remember covering Snyder all those years, Tor, and people are like, we're never going to get rid of him. He's probably going to live for another 30 years. He's thin. I'm like, this is going into a dark, dark place.
Yeah, that's some weird emotional attachment right there. Too much.
The Aiden Hutchinson injury is such a fucking bummer because I never got on board, even after the Katrina stuff. There was something about the Saints that was always off for me. I don't have the animosity that whenever there's a team that kind of like the whole nation rallies around, usually that's kind of off-putting to me. But how the fuck can you not get swept up in what the Lions are and what they've become? And there was more than what, first of all, their entire moment now is they went out and did this incredible thing. And not only did they grab the back of the Cowboys' head and push them down into the shit they took on the carpet and swat their ass with a fucking newspaper tour. But are they any piece of the conversation today? Is Agent Hutchinson more than just a footnote, that Grizzly injury? No, because it's all about Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. The Hutchinson injury is such a bummer because they're going to be going up against Josh Allen. They're going to be going up against Patrick Mahomes or whatever these quarterbacks are. And that guy could be the best defender in the entire league. And they don't have him now. That might be the difference. Well, as well as they played last night, the difference between their Super Bowl championship and not.
Yeah, it's really crucial. He'll pick on a backup tackle to no end. And then even if you have a really good starting tackle, he's giving him burn, he's getting pressures, he's getting a sack. He makes a difference on defense as a defensive lineman. Even if it doesn't always show up with a 3-sack, 2-sack game, he's there. He's always there. Quarterback has to think about him. Oh, I know I'm sitting back here dropping 1,000, 2,000. Where is he at? I got to get the ball out because I know he's going to get there eventually. Filling in the shoes after him is going to be tremendously tough. And I really appreciate what Detroit has done in their commitment to rebolstering the defense. The defensive backfield has been way better this year. The defensive line's been good. The linebackers play out with their hair on fire every game. But losing that leader on the defense is really tough. And I think it's gonna unfortunately make that defense regress a little bit, no matter how much they try to stave it off.
They're kind of doing an Aaron Rodgers bit with him where it's like, if we make it to the Super Bowl, maybe he might be able to return. That's just, I don't know. I don't even know if I would want that, to be honest with you. I feel like with Aaron Donald, we're subject to that every year. Well, if you're good enough, maybe Aaron Donald will come back and maybe he'll play again. It's like, I don't know. I don't like to play that game, especially with an injury. I just remember more than one. I may have even said it. It's like the Bears are better. Jordan Love gets his fucking deal. The Vikings, we knew that Justin Jefferson was still there. They're better than we thought. It was almost like we were expecting, because the Lions going to lion, that the Lions do what the Browns have done, where Jared Goff does what, I know it's not fair to say what Deshaun Watson has done. That's pretty unique, but to come back down to earth and kind of show us who you are, and you've always been that, and that's what we're expecting. Like with Ant-Man, I'm constantly expecting eventually him to just get arrested and shoot drugs or whatever, just because it's sad, but that's what I just expect that at some point.
Right.
The Lions just fucking, they brushed all of that off and just went out there and went about their business, and they're probably the best team in the NFC right now.
No, they're a movie right now with the Detroit Lions.
That's right. We're a movie, dog. And if you would have told me they're going to go out there and score 49 points or whatever it is, and Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to have 4 targets, I'd have said, you're fucking liar last year. I was like, there's just no way that's the case. They have an embarrassment of riches on offense. They've got 2 backs that could go for $120 each and every night. And the only reason they don't is they both get 16 carries.
Right.
It's fucking nuts how many weapons they have.
They've got a premier tight end. They've got an elite receiver. They've got an emerging elite receiver and plenty of other pieces. And then we were talking about this back in maybe like May or April. The NFC North was going to be like, we were going to be the NFC North podcast where we were going to be tracking them because they're exciting. Even after Detroit's excitement last year, we knew the Packers are going to be competitive. The Vikings have been a really surprising team in that mix, and we all thought the Bears are going to be better, and the Bears are getting better week by week, even if they're picking on the basement franchises so far.
Hey,
it still counts.
They were a basement franchise 2 years ago. So they're 4-0 at home. Caleb Williams just probably turned in statistically his best performance that he's had. The Packers are on a 2-game win streak. The Bears are on a 3-game win streak. The Lions are on a 3-game win streak. The Vikings are on a 5-game win streak, and no team has less than 4 wins in that division, and they all have winning records at home. Lions have gone on the road twice, by the way, and won. I mean, do you feel? I still think at the end of it, the Lions are the best team, so I would go with them. But fantasy football, I had Marvin Harrison Jr. and I had Devontae Smith, and I said I'm just going to go with the more talented one, and he was knocked out of the game. I mean, shit happens. The league is fucking crazy, and if the nobody tells the Vikings that Sam Darnold eventually is going to have a 4 interception performance, maybe they run this thing fucking tape to tape, and they run the football, and Justin Jefferson's the best player in football, and they win the whole thing. But god damn, I wouldn't feel comfortable predicting the way that division is going to look at the end of the season right now.
No, but I mean, the NFC could have likely one from the West, one or two from the South, only one from the East. And then we could be looking at 3 or 4 from the NFC North. It was the class of the NFC. It just looking at them right now, very, very impressive. And I don't know who does take the reins. I don't know if the Vikings can stay this white hot. Jordan Love looked great. It's just a little division that's gonna consistently get better, I think, through the rest of the season.
There's our buddy Largemouth Ass with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much, Largemouth. Never been less excited about a 4-2 team than this Steelers team, except this is the Steelers team. This is the Steelers team where you look up and say, well, they scored 18 against the Falcons. They scored 13 against the Broncos. They scored 20 against the Chargers. They lose to the Colts, and yet still somehow they've got 4 wins and 2. This is what they do every single year. And I think Justin Fields can do enough. I think that portion of the argument has been dispelled. And now you're moving on to, do we trade Russell Wilson to one of these needy fucking have-not loser poor teams? I don't know. I understand what he's saying, Tor, but if it was anybody but the Steelers, this is how the Steelers win 11 games. And when you win 11 games, you give yourself a chance to win a Super Bowl.
The Steelers, I would be excited about if I was a Steelers fan, because I would be able to watch TJ Watt every single week. He is maybe not the best defensive player, or not only the best defensive player in the NFL. He might be the best player. Yeah, every week it's 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, tackle for loss, splitting double teams, making incredible. He's an absolute difference maker on defense when they have tried to take defense out of the NFL more and more every single year. And he doesn't care about the rules. He's going to go and punch that ball out. Watching him play, it's like he's playing against high schoolers. It's really going from JJ Watt to Aaron Donald to TJ Watt. Just seeing how this baton has gotten passed. And Justin Fields, at times yesterday, I know the passing needs to get cleared up. I know he needs to be better there. He looks faster than he ever did in Chicago. Yeah. He looks stronger than he ever did in Chicago. Maybe it's that jersey and you associate the Steelers with competency and strength. But he had a play where right tackle missed the block completely, and it was a free shot on him. Obviously, it was a deeper route concept. He noticed it, and he took off, and it was like 3 strides first down. His touchdown run, the defender had the angle. He beat him to the pylon. You have to take the silver lining with that guy, that you do have a tremendous athlete at the quarterback position.
I tell you what I would be excited about, Tor, is Najee Harris looked like Najee Harris in that game. Also, they had 3 rushing touchdowns. And look, there are teams that, go down the field through the air and they punch it in like, on the 1-yard line. No, this is a Steelers team that if they have 3 rushing touchdowns, they're going to fucking win, because they're running the football on you. They're controlling the clock. They're being physical. And I won't have any of the anxiety about Justin Fields rushing for touchdowns as I do for other quarterbacks. Like, he's going to have to run the football. He doesn't have Jaden Daniels' ceiling of potential as a passer where I'm like, please, God, run the ball less, because I can see the touch you have, the field vision, the back shoulder. You've got all these fucking weapons at your disposal. Justin Fields can make plays, but you don't have that. If they're rushing for 3 touchdowns against you, you've lost. You're not going to go up against that defense and that ball control and win that game. And to your point on TJ Watt, there's great defensive players in this league. How many, Tor, would you feel comfortable saying this defensive player can single-handedly take over a game and put a team on his back? Maybe 5 guys, maybe. Yeah. And he's at the top of that fucking list where if nothing else is clicking, TJ Watt is going to single-handedly keep you in a football game.
I would almost have Max Crosby in that list, but watching the difference that TJ Watt made in that game versus the difference that Max Crosby made in that game, I would say so. But I mean, that dude is an absolute game wrecker in the most classic sense, where if you're on offense, who am I keying? Who am I keying on this defense? They've got crazy linebackers. Every defensive back is solid. And then I've got an absolute monster truck that's going to run through my face if I give him 2 seconds of separation. In TJ Watt. It's an impressive.
If they would have figured out a way to keep Deontay Johnson, and I know that's not, it's not like, we'll keep Kenny Pickens. It wasn't going to work. If they had one more weapon, like Pickens is fantastic, but maybe they don't even need it, Tor. I mean, if you put Devontae Adams with Justin Fields in that offense, is he going to have 8 catches and 96 yards every week? Like, no, I don't think so. I would like for them to be able to add one more vertical option that isn't, Fairmouth or, George Pickens or whoever it is you think it needs to be, because it just, for nothing else, to keep defenses honest, because that it's going to be a tight game when it's the Pittsburgh Steelers playing. But I don't even know that would matter. I don't have them winning the Super Bowl. Like, I don't think they can go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs or even go into Buffalo, but I bet they can win the division. I bet they could win the division. I bet they could get a home playoff game and win that. I think that could all happen for Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah, their vertical guy, I know they're still holding out hope that Calvin Austin ends up transitioning to be a real threat down the field. But I think this team's just going to be a headache for everybody in the AFC down the stretch. And that's something you should take pride in as a fan. If you're sitting here and teams are worried about playing you in December because you might screw up the whole thing for them. If I was on the bubble or if I was in the hunt and I had Pittsburgh scheduled December, January, I'm in a bad place because I know it's not going to be easy. I might get the win. I just might squeak by, but it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be a full fist fight the entire time.
All right. Kevin Smith shared this and it was dancing across my feeds here, but just a couple of moments ago, it does look like, unfortunately, that Jonathan Allen might have suffered a season-ending pectoral injury. Triple H had one of those once. Looks like to be one of the most uncomfortable injuries you can have. Tom Pelissaro, NFL media, defensive tackle Jonathan Allen is feared to have suffered a pectoral injury that requires season-ending surgery. 29, he's been on the field 62% of Washington's defensive snaps so far in 2024. 15 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 6 quarterback hits. Of course, he was the number 17 overall pick. And he's a Pro Bowler, and he's definitely one of the most crucial pieces on a defense that has been, I'll say, inconsistent. It's probably the way I would describe them this year, Tor. That would be a massive loss for them. Hey, we're way up here. I don't think it changes anything about where I think they're headed this year. I think they're ahead of the curve. I think if you're honest and you're a Washington fan, you probably realize you're not on the level of contending for a championship yet. This is a huge bummer. It's one of your best defensive players, but I think they could still go out and score 30 points in most games and be competitive in those games.
I think you're spot on there. It's more of a bummer than it is an impact because they drafted Fedarian Mathis 2 years ago in the second round as a defensive tackle. They drafted Jerzon Newton out of Illinois, second round defensive tackle. So they have depth. It's the one position on the team where if someone went down, you do have a next man up that could be serviceable and even good to come in and step in. But John Allen has just suffered through so much misery with this team, and he's been a captain. He's been vocal. He's been passionate and emotional when they lose. He's a guy that rallies. We talk about that fight on the sideline with Payne. You don't do that if you don't care about the team. Yeah. You do that if you care about winning football games and pride and all that stuff. And to see this be the best team that they've had since he's been there, and now when they're still climbing, he'll have that taken away from him. That just stinks. It's just a bummer.
You know what else is a bummer? Watching, and I hate to put it in any other way, this is going to be non-politically correct, but pussies discuss football when Max Crosby is on camera shoving Mike Caldwell, and everyone is looking at that as something other than just alpha males fucking broing each other around after a big play. It drives me, and to draw any type of a parallel between that weird scene with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh. Like, can you fucking see what's going on this field? Can you see that these guys are cut from a different cloth than the rest of us? You that went to journalism school at Boston College, like, you can't fucking get that the way you act with your friends is different than the way these guys are acting as they're out doing battle with other men. And by the way, losing and getting their asses kicked in the middle of a tumultuous year. That shit drives me up the wall.
The sport has become, and this is equally as, if not more, it's become too inclusive. The NFL has, football has. I know that sounds really hideous because it's a sport.
Well, not for the reasons that people would think if they're fucking. You're exactly right.
It should be it is an equal opportunity sport, in my opinion. But Jesus, the coverage, you can't handle it. There's people that just cannot handle covering this sport. Cover baseball. If you're a young, exciting writer and you know that you're just going to be mad about the NFL and these guys being football players, please cover baseball. They need more writers. They need more people to be invested and get buzz for the game. Cover basketball. Plenty of drama there. And then you're going to be able to report on drama and trades and all the excitement.
Mostly, by the way, mostly drama in the NBA is what you're reporting on.
Yeah. Football is just, it's the sport. It's the gladiator sport. And you don't have the stomach for it because you think every single physical confrontation on the sideline, every big hit, you think it's a hate crime. It's not. It's football.
No.
Leave it as that. It's really frustrating.
It's for thick-skulled meat eaters like us, and it's just. And I don't want to say that that's not even a boast. That's not even a brag. It is what it is. I like monster truck rallies, fucking too. I can't believe it. He shoved his coach. Did he? It's not the same as when the New York Liberty's point guard shoves their coach. It's not the fucking same. These guys are physical. That would be like you watching a UFC fight and saying, oh my God, he's leapt upon that man and he's now pummeling even though he's on the ground. Right.
When Khabib went in the stands, it was UFC writers and martial arts writers writing on it and speaking on why it happened. It wasn't, oh my God, clear the venue, everybody evacuate. We understand the context that these are two just savages punching each other on the ring, putting their lives on the line, and there's going to be some emotion tied to it. Very, very unprofessional if you thought about it in any other sense.
Here's something unprofessional for you, Tor. Let's do a little smash or trash. You ready?
Okay.
I pulled a song here. This had like 20 million views when I pulled it today. This is a Dallas Cowboys fan-made diss track. All right, we ready?
Yeah.
Here we go again. This team ain't gonna never win. I'm ashamed to be a fan. Got me lying to my friends. Louis belt straight to ass. That cannot complete a pass. CD Lamb been playing trash. Man, how long is this gonna last?
How are we feeling so far?
I'm in right now. Smash for sure.
I'm feeling it right now. I mean, I don't think that's, no one's going to confuse this guy with Andre Three Stacks, but I believe he's making his point.
Damn, get it, Jerry. Quit it, Jerry. Retire, Jerry. We gotta fire, Jerry. Boy, you know this team super bad. I ain't lying. Every week we taking belt to ass. That shit pissed me. That cannot complete a
That shit pissed me off. I think that's my favorite.
The ad libs are really, really spectacular so far.
Boy.
I ain't lying. Every week we taking belt to ass. That shit pissed me. That cannot complete a simple pass. Where he tryna? Man, how long is this shit gonna last? Who you throwing? Took a 40 ball, beating 2 times is like a sequence. Wow. Dak, who you throwing to? He threw it to the defense. I'm like, Dak, who you throwing it to? He threw it to the ops. I'm like, Dak, you gotta stop. Dak, go to the barbershop. Get that hairline fixed. And maybe you'll stop throwing picks. And maybe CD Lamb will stop being the diva and he'll stop throwing fits. And maybe Mike McCarthy will be on the sideline wearing some clothes that fit. And maybe Jerry Jones just might retire because he old as shit.
Very straightforward towards the end. For the record, I don't think if Dak Prescott got his line cut in deeper that he would stop throwing picks.
I think maybe if he just went baldy, that would be okay. Full renaissance there. Yeah, a little bit of shoehorning at the end, but definitely got through the message through. There's something about just press conference photos where he's just sitting there professionally answering questions, and then the most heinous song being played over underneath that. That's
I'm tired of this shit. I just like that he's just kind of sharing his thoughts underneath.
Oh yeah, as he should. Go ahead, you're a fan.
Oh boy, Josh Kim, member 3 months. Thank you, brother. 95% of the NFL writers hate the NFL and the people in it. Go look at ProFootballTalk.com right now and click the headline that says Bob Kraft hasn't spoken to Donald Trump since 2006. I'll fucking wait if you think I'm making that shit up. I'll fucking wait if you're waiting for Mike Florio to not take shots at Elon Musk and say that he won't call it X because Elon Musk likes it. I mean, what are we fucking doing? You can't find enough to write about today of all days, the shit that's going down now. At least Stephen A. Smith, as big of a fucking clown as he is wearing a cowboy hat and hooting and hollering and screaming and yelling. He's there to fucking entertain. He knows what he's there to do on a Monday.
Yeah, it's the NFL. Let's act like there was football that was actually played. And also, Elon Musk actually got a booster to be launched from a rocket and go back to its holding station.
Did you see that thing catch that rocket as it's coming back down?
You could say what you want about that dude on Twitter. You could say what you want about his cars. The space travel is remarkable. All the advancements he's making is insane.
How about the robot bartender? Did you see the robot bartender over the weekend, or the robot vans that look like the fucking bridge of the Enterprise we're all going to be driving around in?
It was the whole...
Get mad at who he's voting for. Please continue to get mad who he's voting for as he's building robots to suck your penis and serve you a highball. Are you out of your fucking mind?
People liked when he was making memes for them, and now he's making memes that may not align with them, and now he's the biggest piece of garbage in the world, apparently.
I give two shits about his memes. Please
Could
continue
care
to
less.
make rockets
Couldn't
that
care-
can land themselves. Holy shit. Bobby Double L 1999. Thank you so much for the beautiful super chat, brother. Good to see you. Love BTOS with Torver Lawrence and Big Shoot. Have the Jaguars contacted you yet, Gigantor? Give an update on what we were discussing on Sunday.
No contact yet from the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have to sit in England for another week before playing the Patriots next Sunday, which is I think a suffice punishment. You shouldn't be. You should just go and eat all that awful food, sit in the rain, and practice in a soccer dome in a bubble, and wait to have Drake May have his breakout game against you next week, because that's the only way it shakes out.
Drake May didn't look bad. It would not shock me if that's what took place. Wouldn't shock me at all. By the way, what's a just punishment for this fucking Nudnik? What's a just punishment for him, Tor?
I don't know. I mean, it's not just this, which was a story in its own right before the game. It's all the other stuff that happens around this, where he thinks he's that guy, and he's got that syndrome. He's got a little imposter syndrome, main character syndrome, whatever you want to call it. I think he walks around thinking that he's got a camera on him all the time, and he's trying to be this character. I think when he's on the sidelines, his head isn't in the game. I think he's looking at himself from the stands.
Why do you say that? You say his head's not in the game?
2 road games coming up at the Giants, at the Bengals, while the Cleveland.
Coming off a bye week, with A.J. Brown coming back, with Devontae Smith coming back, 4-point lead over the 1-4 Cleveland Browns, and for some reason you're jawing with the fans in the stands. You think he might not be focused on the sidelines? Tor, why? There's no video evidence to support that. Jesus Christ. And then to involve, I almost pulled it. I almost pulled the clip everyone's playing today of him answering the questions with not just his one kid, with multiple kids out there. But I'm like, I don't want to fucking show that dude's kids on my show. You know, if we're going to discuss it, we'll just discuss it. The fucking sack. And to be consistent, when Steph Curry was bringing his cute little kid up on, I said, that's not professional. I was called a curmudgeon, a hater, blah, 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 all this crazy shit. I said, it's just not professional. It's not what you should be doing. You're working. Don't put your kid in front of the fucking media. The media are a bunch of goddamn vultures and jackals. This piece of shit, are those kids there when you're like, if you're holding the Lombardi trophy, right, in one hand and you've got your baby in the other, fine. Do you. It's once in a lifetime. You fucking knew that you were going to get questions about jawing with the fans, about how horrible the offense is, all the shit that took place, and you're using your kids as a bulletproof vest. There is no other explanation for him doing that shit.
It's really shameless. He's not a leader. He's not a leader of men. I don't know. I'm now, every week, I'm further removed from understanding why he got that job in the first place. It makes less and less sense. You know what? You can say passionate coaches are good coaches. That's fine with me. I would at times agree. I know that there's famous silhouettes of Tom Landry in the hat, stoically watching over the game and not doing shit like this, jawing against the Browns, acting like you've never been there before. It's like every week is a Super Bowl for this guy. If that's the mentality you want to have, fine. But act like you're a head coach of an NFL team and understand the privilege that is, the weight that holds.
By the way, what's every listener of the Chad Duke Show doing, smiling here at him as he's doing it? This guy right here. These guys. These guys fucking, they're not helping, Tor. These guys that are pretending that what this motherfucker's doing is funny, they are to blame.
I've had vicious things yelled at me from sidelines. We, as a team, there's been vicious just heckling. You go with it. You understand that they're fans. You don't start chirping back at them. I wanted to crawl into the stands against Virginia Tech and yank overalls out of the third row, but I didn't do it because I know the optics of it. I know we're losing. I know the circumstance of the game and the weight and the representation of not my school, but not only my team, but my school and my coach and my other teammates.
But you were a bonehead kid. Like, look, I saw Santana Moss almost wade into the fucking fence and beat a dude's ass, right? And Santana Moss is as professional as it gets and as nice as it gets and as classy a dude if you meet him as it gets, it can get the better of you. The difference is, ask yourself this question. Could you see Mike Tomlin doing that, or Tom Landry doing that, or Joe Gibbs doing that? It's no Doug Peterson is as embarrassing as any coach probably is this year, and he's still walking out there with his Easter Island head and his horrible fucking rubber band visor that can barely get around that thing. You don't see him doing this in victory or defeat. And if Doug Peterson can handle it, by the way, he coached the Eagles to some success from what I recall. There's no reason why this piece is shit. And realize where you are, bro. Like, you realize you're playing the biggest joke in the league right now. Like, the only thing people say about the Browns is they lack the balls to do what they have to do with the horrible quarterback that they have. That's still the narrative today.
Yeah. The Browns with any quarterback but Deshaun Watson, or maybe I'll even throw Levis in there, would win the game against
Very
Philly.
similar.
It's really I don't understand what's actually going on symptom that's taking place, where it's just strictly in the moment. That's bad. That you need a coach that looks forward. You need a head coach that is. If you're the head coach, you have to understand every single facet of the team. He understands I'm Nick Sirianni, and this is the image that I'm putting out. Nothing more, nothing less.
It's just weird to me that, like, how he like it's weird to me that nobody in the organization is taking him aside and be like, look, man, when you're beating the Chiefs in Arrowhead, people are probably going to stomach this a little bit easier than they are now after the way that your final season ended, the way you guys have played offensively into this point. All right, I forgot to bring this up to her when we talked about the Cowboys. They're 3-3 right now. And this is the rest of their schedule. 49ers, at Falcons, Eagles, Texans, at Commanders. I have a 39% chance of beating the Commanders. That has to just be because it's Washington. The Giants and Bengals. So how many games do you have Dallas? And I know you can do this, throw a dart at the wall, try to predict an NFL season, but we kind of know who the Cowboys are at this point. I don't think they have a good chance in either. You think that they're going to beat the Texans at home? How many Texans fans do you think are going to be inside of that stadium for that game?
Yeah, they don't beat the Texans at home. That Eagles game is really just a toss-up at this point because they're just both embarrassing squads. The 49ers roll them. If the Falcons keep on scoring points, then I think the Falcons beat the Cowboys. Commanders.
I think the Giants can beat the Giants. Were in the game against Cincinnati. They were 5.5 point, whatever, 3.5 point dogs the entire night last night.
The Giants have a bag of garbage at quarterback, but their defense is legit. Brian Burns, I can't believe he actually went to New York. He's so talented, and he is just an absolute difference maker. And the Dexter Lawrence, who's going to block him? It's just going to be him and Zach Martin. And then you have other talented players on defense for the Giants. So they're going to be sneaky competitive in that game. And Daniel Jones stinks, but at the same time, could he have played worse than Dak Prescott yesterday? It's going to be tough. That's going to be a much tougher game than expected. And the Bengals in Week 14 could be world beaters.
Bengals are going to beat them by 15. Here's why I respect Daniel Jones, Tor, and it's because of Deshaun Watson, if you can believe it. Deshaun Watson will not do what he needs to do to help his team. Like, Deshaun Watson when there's a quarterback sneak, comes out of the game. Like, Deshaun Watson will not run the football, and if you ask him about it, he's like, I'm a quarterback. That's not what I'm here to do. Okay, is Josh Allen a quarterback? Is Kyler Murray a quarterback? Like, let's go down the list of guys that Pat Mahomes fucking runs the ball constantly. Daniel Jones is a terrible passer right now. So what was he doing last night? They were snapping the ball to him directly, and he's rushing the football and showing some speed, and he's coming off a big injury. Like, Daniel Jones is garbage, but Daniel Jones is willing to go out there and put himself on the line to help the offense out. And that is more than Deshaun Watson is willing to do. And I got to say, at times, as much as I think I like Dak as a person quite a bit, at times it looks like Dak isn't willing to make himself uncomfortable at times and just make a bad decision and throw a ball that he shouldn't, rather than do what Daniel Jones did. So yeah, to your point, Daniel Jones is going to go out there and fucking fight the whole goddamn game just because he stinks and should have gotten paid. That's not his fault.
Yeah, exactly. And then, they might be on equal level of complete teams at this point between the two. The Giants' offensive line is playing a little bit better than expected. The 2 first-round tackles aren't giving up a sack a drive anymore, which is good. That's respectable. And Malik Neighbors, if he comes back and he's healthy in that game, he could go for 150. He could have 8 catches. He could be a difference maker. There's a lot to not be excited for as a Cowboys fan looking at that stretch where it's so demoralizing as a fan to go through that schedule and not have one where you're confident in, not have one where you're like, okay, at least we can get by this team. You can't, you won't. It's crushing week in, week out, not knowing that there's a chance of a predictable outcome.
We got a big game at MetLife Stadium, kicks off at 8:15. I want to get to that tour, but you know me, I don't like to brag. I don't like to put myself over. I think you know that about me and have for quite some time. But we talked about this on the show about free money, about the NFL gods. I don't bet as much as I used to. This is out of my MyBookie account where I'd stacked up a couple G's just winning games, and every once in a while, if I feel passionately about it, I'll throw some money. I usually don't make bets this big, but I was looking at the Bengals giving 3.5 in the Meadowlands, and yeah, it was pretty competitive down towards the end. But the Bengals are a good football team that has had some bad bounces and played some bad defense and had a slow start, but they're still, it's Tee Higgins, it's Jamar Chase. And by the way, Chris Collinsworth can New Jack swing on my nuts. Go back. If I had the fucking time and the inclination, watch the film from that game last night, and you count how many times he compliments Tee Higgins without bringing up the fact that Jamar Chase is getting doubled on every play. He is fucking incapable. There's something about Tee Higgins he don't like. He is incapable of complimenting that guy, even when he's making great plays, without bringing up Jamar Chase. It drove me the fucking up the wall. But the Bengals have got weapons all over the field. They're getting healthy, and they've got the second best quarterback in the game. So if you didn't bet that game last night, you lost out on having a big pile of money delivered to you virtually, as I did last evening.
Yeah, I teased it down to 2.5 because I thought the Bengals were going to do some dumb stuff.
Word I can't use. Word I can't use.
Look, I needed to get in the green, and it made way too much sense. And I think the game tonight makes way too much sense. It might be another free money game on Monday Night Football between the Bills and the Jets.
All right, what I'm looking at here is Buffalo is a 1.5 point favorite, according to Sportsline. The over/under is 41 and a hookah ho. Buffalo is a minus 120 money line favorite. Risk 120, win 100 for those of you that don't gamble. I'm guessing you're thinking the Bills cover this spread, Gigantor, without putting words in your mouth.
Yes, I believe the Bills definitely cover this spread against the Jets. I know the new coach bump happens. We see it when a new guy comes in and then the team rallies and they just have to focus on playing football and not just getting stuck in the same rut that they've been in, and now you're in a different type of situation. But the Bills are better than the Jets, and I do think that they cover in this one.
So there's a couple of things here. James Cook is the type of player that I think can do well even against, which is still a pretty good defense that the New York Jets have. He is having quietly an amazing season. 309 rushing yards, 123 receiving yards, 6 total touchdowns. Last week he went for 82 and 17. I think he's going to be a difference maker tonight. Also, I know that Garrett Wilson is there. I know the chemistry between Aaron Rodgers and everyone not named Alan Lazard has not developed the way that we thought it was going to. And Mike Williams has shown flashes. And I just think, Tor, that you fired Robert Saleh. You fired a defensive-minded head coach. You've replaced one bad offensive coordinator with another bad offensive coordinator. And I know that firsthand watching him call plays in Nashville. Yeah, like there's still talented people on this team. The organization is still fucked up, and they're still in the middle of a swoon of a season. I don't think it's enough to beat a team that's better than they are right now, this Jets team. I know any given Sunday in the NFL, I'm inclined to agree with you. If this was straight up, I'd feel very comfortable picking the Bills. I could see it being like a 24-23 type of a vibe, and you just get fucked on the back end. But yeah, it is incredible that after everything that took place this week, the Jets are still playing for first place in that division. It lets you know the condition of the AFC East right now. And also Tua being reported not coming back this week. Speaking of the AFC East, he could have come back this week anyway. I don't know why that's a report that's going around today, other than the fact that I guess the Dolphins have come out and said they expect him to play again this season.
It's just more pearl clutching, more excitement about the football player not being able to play football because he got a football injury. And that's really the most disgusting part of this whole process with Tua Tagovailoa, where it's, do you really understand? Do you really want this guy to get back and get healthy? Probably not. You want more people to just say, I'm done playing football because it's too scary and violent, because I never played football in my life, because I never put the pads on and understood what it meant to be a part of the greatest team sport ever constructed on this earth. And to see Tua, who has committed his whole life to being a part of this great game, get that kind of reporting, it's really insidious when I take a deeper dive into it.
That division is a fucking wreck right now. And then, by the way, if Drake May goes out and looks good next week and they fucking figure out a way to churn out a win, they're not going anywhere, New England. But in the AFC East, all of these teams' narratives can change very quickly with how packed together they are. The under in this game, 41.5 toward. The Jets have hit 4-quarter game total unders in 11 out of their last 18 contests. The Jets don't score. I don't know. I usually hate betting the under. I know it's a hack move. I know Drab T-shirt bristles when everybody says this, but I hate rooting for teams to not score. It really does degrade my ability to enjoy a football game, but that does look tantalizing tonight between these two games.
I will only bet unders on games that I won't watch. And I'll win those bets. You know, if there's a big college slate, I'll put together 3 unders that I like, and most of the time they'll hit. 2 out of 3 will hit. It'll be a good little windfall, but I'm not going to sit there and cheer for a punt at midfield or when teams just start trading blows and it's a slop fest. I like seeing the points scored. I like seeing pick sixes. I like seeing kick return and punt return touchdowns. All the big scoring that can happen, give it to me. Offense, defense, special teams, whatever I can get.
Everybody that was pearl clutching again about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis leaving Buffalo in the offseason. Josh Allen is tied for 5th in the league in passing touchdowns and 8, is first in QBR, 77.6. I think this was a point you were making quite a few times in the offseason, Tor, is that I think all quarterbacks benefit from having a variety of weapons, but he's the type of quarterback that Dak Prescott is not, in that whoever is around him is going to benefit from being around him, and the rising tide is going to raise all ships. Maybe not statistically. For Dalton Kincaid owners such as myself, you know what a fucking bloodbath that is, but that running the ball and relying on the quarterback and throwing in the short passing game, like, I don't know. I don't feel like the Bills are demonstratively worse off after losing 2 of their top 3 or 4 pass catchers this offseason.
Yeah, the Josh Allen effect is real. He seems more mature this year. The big crazy turnover plays, we're gonna get him. You know, there's gonna be a stretch or a game where he throws a big deep ball in triple coverage, but he's taking a shot. He's taking a risk. He's trying to take the top off the defense, and that's the only way you beat the defense now with the big cover 2 high safety system. Is they're not all pros playing safety. So if I'm a quarterback with a big arm, I'm going to test them a couple times and get them to either start biting, try to undercut some routes, and start picking them apart. And Josh Allen, I think, has been making a lot of really good decisions this year. And he has that level where he drops back, at least this season, where he's sitting there, and when he starts that motion, you're like, oh, who's he going to connect this pass to? It's not, oh, is it going to go 10 yards over the guy's head? Is it going to go at the guy's feet? It's who is he throwing? Who is he completing this pass to? Which is such a great piece of confidence that you can have watching him. And then to counter that with a really good rushing attack with James Cook, that's huge because it's not all on him to rush for 80 yards, throw for 300 and get away with one. I can just play some quarterback here and make it work.
All right. We'll finish up with this, and we've already kind of done enough, but the narrative about Deshaun Watson tour, and I'm using this as an example to set up my point. One of the narratives about Deshaun Watson and the reason why he must be benched is not just the massage stuff. It's not just the way he plays. It's not just that he won't run the football. It's that there are veterans inside of that locker room that are sacrificing their bodies, that are going out there and they're getting beat up and they're getting punched and they're getting hit, and they're in miniature car accidents all Sunday afternoon, all Monday evening, all Thursday afternoon. And they have a guy out there they know they can't go to war with. And that absolutely degrades and erodes chemistry and camaraderie. Everything that's good about a football team and a good football team is what's happening with leaving Deshaun Watson in is affecting that in a negative way. I believe that's happening in Tennessee as well. In Tennessee, it's worse though, because you don't have all this guaranteed money. You didn't give up all these draft picks. You have one quarterback that you did trade up to get. They can't stop throwing interceptions. A week removed, well, 2 weeks with a bye, from a quarterback that went out there and played slightly below average, and you scored 30 points and you won the football game. I got the Calvin Ridley audio from yesterday, and Calvin really kind of marched to the beat of its own drummer, but you could see the frustration on his face here, trying to say the right thing until the veneer cracked a little bit.
Calvin, that interception that Will threw to you along the sideline, do you feel like you could have been able to maybe play some defense on that one? Just how do you kind of assess that play happening?
Yeah.
What do you think he wants to say here?
Fuck no. That's
Fuck
what he wants
you.
to say.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You want to go out there and have him try to complete a pass to you? Jerk off. Look at me. I'm Calvin Ridley. I got sweet feet. I'm 29. I've only played for 4 years in the NFL. I got the juice. All right.
I've got you. You got so much baggage. I always forget whenever we talk about this guy.
I like him, but he's never.
I like him too, but can you fucking imagine? Why didn't you play defense on another atrocious interception Will Levis threw?
Are you kidding me? I'm not trying to be Julio Jones with a defensive highlight reel after Matt Ryan throwing hospital balls.
I don't need
that.
it. No.
Yeah, I'd rather just be, hey, O-lineman, make the tackle.
You know who I am? I'm the guy that ducks right before John Starks fucking dunks over the top of me. I'm the guy diving out from underneath the camera because that's not what I'm here to do.
I definitely got to play some defense. I was just looking up, trying to get past the guy, and I just really didn't know if there was a safety or not there. I was just trying to get past my guy, and I seen it was a little behind. So
They wanted
He doesn't handle this next one well, I don't think.
to kind of make getting you targets and part of this offense a priority today, and to kind of not have it result in any catches. I guess what was kind of off that resulted in targets but no catches?
I had targets in what part of the game I had targets?
Fourth quarter, a lot of them.
All right, then. So, shit, I need some in the beginning of the fucking game, too, then. Like, shit's getting fucking crazy for me. So, I'm just, it is what it is. But I suck today. I got to be better. But I got to get the ball a little early in the game so I can be in the game and here with the team so I can play well also.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether or not he should be saying that, Tor, he's not wrong. And every other team, you can't criticize Dak Prescott for not trying to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb. He's their CeeDee Lamb. Like that's who they invested all the money in. We can quibble about whether or not he should say it, but that's what having inept quarterback play does. Is that motherfucker is having to answer questions about why he didn't play better defense on an interception.
It's enough. We've seen it. The wide receiver diva thing is I'm kind of over it because I've seen the evolution of the wide receiver mentality in that, yes, wide receivers can be, emotional and braggadocious and all that. But one common theme is I need to get involved from the start. You need to get me in the zone because if I'm in the zone, we're all in the zone. And that opens up it means that my corner doesn't have to worry about, covering me until the fourth quarter, until a miracle play. He can just shed the block because he knows a run's coming, or because he knows that he's not going to throw over here. That's when you get defensive cheating, defense is cheating. And that's when you get defenses actually becoming opportunistic because they know they don't have to worry about this guy. Because why would they? They're not throwing it over here. It doesn't matter how OP he is. I'm just going to go over and start leaking it and hopefully get a pick and make a different tackle. It's true.
You're telling me Levis can't throw a little slant, little down and in, like give this guy, he's faster than everybody on the field. He's big, he's physical. Get him involved in the offense early. It makes it easier for everybody else. They have to respect the fact, and you're right, Tor, there's no reason for them to believe that because they haven't been able to get him involved in the offense in any type of meaningful way. And I think you got to be real careful here because they're a one-win team with about 4 or 5 losses that if there was anyone else at quarterback, the Tennessee Titans are one of the surprise teams of this year. And they were right to go out at running back and do what they did with Tony Pollard. Like they've made some decent calls. They just continue to make one bad one. And that is, you got to bench this dude. Here's the question that I have for you. 4 options. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy fired, Peterson fired, Watson benched, Levis benched. What happens first?
Oh,
because all those things should happen. Right? Do we agree with that? They should all take place.
I think it goes Peterson fired, Levis benched, Watson benched, McCarthy fired.
Wow.
First being Peterson. There's some weird drama with Cleveland. Jerry Jones is maybe the most stubborn person on earth. I think Shad Khan has invested a lot into this Jaguars team, and he's not seeing the returns. So he might want to rip the Band-Aid off early in this season. And then the Titans are a team that has taken themselves seriously as a full unit, as a full infrastructure in recent years. And you don't want to start sliding down into we don't remember how to win territory. Yep. We don't remember how to get by or be a dominant team. When we've done it recently, when we've been a threat in the AFC, to have that slip, to have that slide back into the mean or into the basement is just crushing. And you have to understand we can't keep on doing this. We need to try everything we can do before we do full team rebuild all over again.
With each week that passes and the Titans keep losing these, first of all, if Mike Vrabel is your head coach and you're in a tight game, how good do you feel about it? That's one more gig that he can turn down this offseason. That's one more offer he can look at and say, no, I'm not going to coach the Jets. I'm going to get a Harbaugh fucking Chargers deal. At some point, I'm waiting for that Eagles team to become available so I can go in there and immediately go to the NFC Championship game. With each game they lose like this, Vrabel looks stronger and stronger. David brought this up. They're still running that fucking mayonnaise commercial for Will Levis during NFL Sundays. It is so goddamn embarrassing. And the whole campaign, of course, was embarrassing and out of touch. But now it's even more fucking ridiculous. I wonder what Calvin Ridley. I'd love to ask Calvin Ridley about those commercials.
Are you kidding me? D's over there acting when we can't get a ball in my vicinity.
Bad Photoshop tags are not bad at all, Michael Slider. Of course, the creator of Trevor Lawrence. New one on the Twitter. Thank you for the Monday BTOS. Gets us through the day. Well, why don't I just amble on over there, Tor, and see what Michael Slider is talking about? Because I need to know. He's got another one. Oh, I don't see it. Maybe it's not. Oh! Oh, no. Where did he find this? Wait a minute. That's not it. That's it.
Oh, what the shit, man. Come on.
Telling you, he's your own personal Calvin Walvin. Oh, man. You're not a centaur, but you are. For some reason, sad Trevor Lawrence is probably the most egregious, I think. Should I update the avatar, or do you want to keep the original one? He's
running out on the field before a game, and he's already got this demeanor. Like that's how you know how bad this Jaguars team is. He can't even be happy or locked in, excited. It's I have to go out and play football. You see that right there? A little bit determined. I think in that photo, originally, I'm staring down a beer at a live show. Yeah, I know I got to chug it. So that's a look of focus. He needs to replicate that.
This guy, you think, has already packed it in for the season. He's not coming back from London.
That guy's a bag of piss. He's awful. He should stay over there.
Who were the quarterbacks, Tor? We said this offseason I wouldn't pay these fucking guys. Who were they? It was Trevor Lawrence. It was Tua Tagovailoa. And yes, I said I wouldn't make Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in the fucking league. And look what's already happened. Look at it!
I mean, a year later after the Giants paid Daniel Jones $40 billion a year,
imagine?
And these teams say, I'm going to do that. I just watched my friend right there step on a rake. It came up, hit him right in the forehead, and now he's got a big bump. You know what looks fun? Me stepping on that rake. I'm sure it won't happen to me. Oh, now I'm sitting here with a big bump on my forehead. Just a bunch of idiots falling in line.
You know what's helping me if I'm Todd Bowles or I'm, the owner of the Buccaneers, the general manager or whatever, is I'm looking at a stadium filled with seawater and I'm looking, oh man, we got to move all these tree branches and we got to make sure everything. And I'm thinking, oh my God, the millions of dollars I saved investing in Baker Mayfield. If you're the Browns, you'll never get over it. If you're a Browns fan, you will never get over them deciding to not give Baker another chance and go all in on Deshaun Watson. You will never shake that off. It will be, at least not until a couple of generations have lived and died toward. That'll be something that grandfathers are telling their grandkids sitting on their knee when we let Baker Mayfield go to Tampa Bay.
The only way they do it is to pull a true karmic reverse and sign Bryce Young and have him become a star. And that's the only way you recover a first round draft pick, a number one overall pick who was on a bad team and he needs to recover and bounce back. That's right now. It's not Zach Wilson karmically. It's that dude where you have to pull the true reversal on yourself for your own wrongdoings.
And Ryan Tannehill just sits out there, not available. It's just it's been a really weird season for the quarterback position, but I hope it's a paradigm shift as to we've got to make fill in the blank mediocre dick in the dirt quarterback the highest paid player in the league. We went long on this one, Tor.
For sure.
Certainly did. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. And of course, let me go ahead and click this on at the bottom. Got to give a big verbal nod to Dream Stay Getaways when you're booking your Florida theme park vacation. Avoid the booking fees. Book their awesome houses. They're on resorts. Amazing amenities. They got pools. They got arcades. And it's right next to Universal, right next to Disney. You're going to want to get out of the cold of the winter. DreamStayGetaways.us. Check it out right now. Follow them on Instagram. Very, very cool houses. If you're staying down at the parks, book through their site. Save yourself a pile of cash over Airbnb or Vrbo. Dave Jenkins says, Tor is a genius. Save Bryce, save Cleveland. Well, it's one thing to say it. It's another one for Cleveland to physically being able to do it. But I think they've got a good head coach. And I think he's not allowed to do what he wants to do right now. And I think he said probably just as egregious reclamation projects that have thrived in that Cleveland offense.
Yeah, he's been handcuffed to the extreme. I don't think Stefanski's a bad coach. I think he's doing everything that he possibly can, but he's not allowed to fully win, which is a shame because he's going to get ousted and the Browns are going to make bad decisions because the Browns make bad decisions.
Quick plug. There will be no Sean Salisbury on Thursday because he is joining me on Friday on Chad Dukes versus the World. That will be back from 2 to 6 this Friday. Sal's is coming on in the first hour, so if you want to watch him, the video is available right now on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/Chad Dukes Show. Click on that Chad Dukes versus the World video and hit the little bell. You will get a notification when we go live. 4 straight hours of motherfucking radio. We're going to do it like we used to do it. Tor, thank you, buddy. Have a great week. Thank you so much. I know you're busy nowadays. I appreciate you making time.
Of course, Shoot. Love talking ball.
Love talking ball as well. Go long.
Hey, what do you got?
Both types of sports.
Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long. Nice toss.
Both types of sports.